Welcome to day 11 of our school year. Okay, let's write down our beginning fraction. We have a total of 180 school days and we are on day 11. Okay, let's find the factors of our numerator. That's 11. Two factors we always know are 1. And the number itself, using the commutative property of multiplication, we can do 11 times 1. Okay, now I'm going to check all the factors in between. I'm going to use the divisibility rules to go in an orderly fashion so I don't miss any. After 1, we try 2. The rule for 2 is that it ends in an even number. 1 is odd, so 2 is not a factor. And if 2 is not a factor, then no even number will be, so we don't need to check any more even numbers, only the odd ones. So after 1, the next odd number is 3. The rule for 3 is that we add the digits together. 1 plus 1 equals 2. 2 is not a multiple of 3, so 3 is not a factor. We try 5. That's our next odd number. The rule for 5 is that it ends in a 0 or 5. It ends in a 1, so 5 is not a factor. We try 7. 7, 14. 11 is not in that list, so 7 is not a factor. We try 9. 9 has the same rule as 3. We add the digits together, we get 2. 2 is not a multiple of 9, so 9 is not a factor. Then we get to 11, and we're done. So let's go ahead and list our factors from least to greatest. 1 and 11. That's exactly 2 factors, so it is prime. And if we look on our prime number sieve, 11 is circled. All right. So now we're going to try to find our greatest common factor. We start with our greatest factor. We want to see if it will work for 180. So it doesn't matter what your group of 11 looks like, as long as you have 11 in each group and you keep the shaded separate from the unshaded. So what I'm doing here is a way of using decomposition to help me. I have 5 up here, so I need to add 6 to make 11. I have 4 here, so I need to add 7 to make 11. And it's easy for me to visualize those because I know my numbers that make up 10 with adding the numbers that decompose to end from 10. So 3 plus 8 is 11. Okay, 2 plus 9 is 11, and then 1 plus 10 is 11. 10 plus 1 is 11. 9 plus 2 is 11. 3 plus 8 is 11. 4, and again, you don't have to do it this way. 4 plus 7, 5 plus 6, 6 plus 5, and I have a remainder of 4. Since I have 4 left over and don't make a group, that means 11 is not a factor. That means our only common factor is 1. And that would be our greatest one. So let's go ahead and make our groups of 1, and we're done. We don't need to go back and put everything into a square because you can already see each square is going to be its own group. It's already done. So how many total groups of 1 do we have? Well, we have a total of 180 squares, so we have a total of 180 groups. How many of those groups of 1 are shaded in? 11. So that is the simplest form, but we're going to go ahead and prove it with our long division. I'm going to divide by 1. 180 divided by 1. Well, 100 times 1 is 100. Numbers the same, zeros the game. More on top, no need to stop. 80 times 1 is 80. Numbers the same, zeros the game. And we add those partial quotients. 100 plus 80 is 180. Now 11. Well, 10 times 1 is 10. More on top, no need to stop. Numbers the same, zeros the game. 1 times 1 is 1. Numbers the same, zeros the game. Add those partial quotients. 10 plus 1 is 11. Now you may have already seen that 180 would work and that 11 would work. I just want you to see that there's more than one way to get to the right answer. Okay, now let's go ahead and check our answers with our inverse operations. That is the divisor times a quotient plus a remainder. Divisor times quotient plus remainder. But since our remainder is 0, and the identity property of addition says when you add 0 it stays the same, we don't need to add it. So I'm just going to do my divisor times my quotient, my divisor times my quotient. And what I have here on both of these is my identity property of multiplication that says when you multiply by 1, it stays the same. 1 times 0 is 0, 1 times 8 is 8, 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 1 is 1. So that matches my dividend up here. This matches my dividend up here. Check, check. So that means my numerator is definitely 11. And my denominator is definitely 180. Okay, let's go ahead and fill in our data collection page. Okay, trimester 1, week 3. Today is 8/22/19, and our fraction for today is 11/180. 11 is a prime number and is not a factor of 180. So when we get those prime numbers, the greatest common factor is 1. And when our greatest common factor is 1, we're making groups of 1. Those are already filled in for you. So you do not have to get out your number line. You can just see right here, 11/180 is already on there. And there's no line below it because there's not an equivalent fraction in lower terms. Okay, let's go ahead and put the number line away. Erase your worksheet, and thank you for joining me.